Hello, and welcome January 27th, 2019 to everybody here at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, all time zones in between, and all time zones around the world. And of course, we're brought to here for us to talk about Spiritism, and it all started with Alan Kardec. I cannot recommend his book enough. Of course, you can click on his picture on my website, nwspiritism.com. Click on this picture and you will see, you'll go to the EDI-CEI bookstore and you can find his book, all of his books on the bookstores, also books by Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, Yvonne Piera, and others in English, and also books in other languages too. So I can't say enough good things about how Spiritism has changed my life and made me much more understanding and calm and less stressed, because I understand why I'm here, right? This is so important to understand why you're on earth, why you are alive, why you are in certain circumstances, why everything. Why do good things happen to me? Why do bad things happen to me? Spiritism explains it all. It also explains why everything happens to everyone else you intersect with throughout the whole world. We are essentially here on a planet of atonement where we learn to improve ourselves. We learn to throw away primitive emotions and to improve and to take off the blemishes that we had and to fill that with love and charity and fraternity and understanding. And as we study and learn Spiritism more, we actually then take our intellect and we put it towards more with love in our heart. And in that way, we get true wisdom. So tonight, what are we talking about? We are talking about spontaneity to assist others. And that was verse 19. It's chapter 19 in my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. So I cannot say enough of how important I think it is for you to read this book, understand why we're here on earth, understand your place, because understanding our own place is important. So let's talk about that. What did the spirit Andre Luiz mean on his 19th verse, on his short poem, Spontaneity to Assist Others? And what he said in each line of his poem is one attribute we need in order to rise and ascend and improve ourselves. So let's break it down, because that's what I do in my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. Is what I do is I break down each one of those things that he said. Oh, hello, Rosalind. How are you? I break down each thing that he said, and we say, what does this high spirits, what do spirits mean by spontaneity to assist others? And then how do we achieve it? So let's talk about that. Spontaneity. Some have it in abundance and others lack it. Spontaneity is required to spot opportunities to assist others. The spirit Andre Luiz says we should all have the gift to recognize those who need our help as we go about our natural daily lives. Now, saying that, I also know that I'm one who lacks it. In my daily life, I'm usually lost in a haze of thought. I will walk to work deep in contemplation, passing by those with hands out. Only after I reach the next block do I even think about what I saw. I'm sure there's lots of people like that, where I'm so in my own world that it may be, half hour later or a day later, all of a sudden I think about something and I thought, oh, I should have done that. So I castigate myself for the lost chance, and I try to do better, but I never seem to. The next day, I'm preoccupied once again as I make my way, and I realize that I dwell on future possibilities to the detriment of the present. And the spirit Joanna D'Angelis tells us why we shouldn't enslave ourselves to worrying about tomorrow. This is what she said. And of course, and I was saying about Joanna D'Angelis, her books are all psychographed by Divaldo Franco, and you can find those in other sites, but they're all wonderful books. So this is what she says about why we shouldn't think slowly about the future all the time. She said, Jesus, the unique psychotherapist, proposed an excellent prescription of peace. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. It is important to have in mind that the experiences result in living. In addition, badness and wrongdoings converge into the search for the best. Like this, every single moment deserves the investment of attention and care that one intends to direct for future occurrences. Acting with precision today totally eliminates mistakes now and avoids them later on. Now, given that, one must be careful not to read Jesus' advice not to worry about tomorrow as a rule to cease working for advancement. The spirit world doesn't, even for one moment, wishes us to sit passive and wait for the next event. In fact, what we are being told to us is that events will happen, but we have to do our part and participate. If you are apprehensive about getting that job you've always desired, don't. It was decided long before you were born if you were to attain that employment, but you should still strive for it. You should interview, talk to friends who could give you help to get the door. But bear in mind that the actual decision has usually been already made. Then you may ask, then why should I even try anything? I should just sit and do nothing. The answer is, would you do that if you were in a classroom? After all, you know the class will be 50 minutes long. You know the bell will ring and you shall leave. And you know the class will terminate at the end of the semester. Why bother? You bother because you are in class to learn, to accumulate knowledge, to do your best all the time. You're not in class to think about possibilities and tomorrow. You are in the class to learn, but you also must do your best learning and accumulating and understanding and bringing that knowledge deep into your psyche, to your heart. That is why we're on this earth. You have to think of us as going from one class to another as one episode, right? You buy a house, you get married, you have kids, something else happens, car gets wrecked or whatever. All these things are all little classes to teach us. Therefore, you shouldn't dwell and just focus completely on the future because you need to be awake and pay attention to the class. So it's not like you can sit there and do nothing. You're here to pay attention to what is being taught to you. Just all the circumstances around us, what we hear, what we see. And this is why I'm so against, this new culture where you can't say anything or in these safe spaces. No, when they say that you need safe spaces, it means that you can go away from the class. You don't have to be in the class. No, you have to be in a class. You have to listen to people with maybe good ideas, stupid ideas, different ideas, but you must listen to them and learn to filter them through your conscience. So that's because you're in the class to learn, to get knowledge, you must do your best at all times. Your life is the same. You are on earth to learn from experiences, good and bad. They all teach you something. Each episode in your life is one more lesson. Therefore, as you tell your children, pay attention. When Joanna says acting with precision today, she is telling us the other important rule for living on earth. While we shouldn't overthink future events, we should concentrate on improving our character. Acting with precision implies a conscience that is paramount. We don't make decisions without checking it first. Any choice which causes alarm bells to go off into our body, a feeling of stress or disharmony, should be reconsidered. Joanna points out that we should instill habits in our mind to always attempt to do better, to love better. She knows this is a constant battle with all of our primitive emotions stored up from previous lives. This is what she says. It is not sufficient, therefore, to wish for this or that conquest. It is indispensable to insist and persevere so that the power of the unusual idea predominates those above that were previously stored, commanding the events. So hence, what's she saying? It is the dedication and repetition to instill higher ideals into the wiring of your conscience. This is our real work. I'll say it again. You must dedicate yourself to put in these higher ideas, these higher emotions, love, charity, fraternity, honesty, into your mind. So these were always your first go-to actions. You listen to your conscience. Events will occur, but it is entirely up to you to grow from them. It is your decision to make a real change in your outlook and attitude. The spirit world isn't going to force you to become a nicer person. That's entirely your choice. But they're going to give you times and trials and tribulations and drama and ecstasy and all these other things to put you, just like they do, with putting kids in different circumstances, to put you in areas where you can think, maybe I should be this way. And sometimes the lesson is extremely difficult. So that's why you need to be aware in the present. And therefore, as I walk to work, I need to think instead of concentrating about the places I want to go on vacation or how to get the raise I desire, I should tell myself to radiate love to those I pass by. I should think with kindness about those I dismissed yesterday. I should be constructing a new attitude of benevolence. And that is just what the Apostle Paul tells us, that we should, in a spirit communication, that we should consider ourselves to be already somewhat of a type of God, where we had to look at everybody like we are responsible for them. And if you want, in a leader or whoever you want that person to really have an attitude of benevolence, to love the people that they're responsible for. And that's how we should comport ourselves. So, what are we being told? We're told to be awake. This is what Jesus says. As as long as it is still day, I must do the work of him who sent me. Now, Emmanuel said with this verse, we know that the Master's divine work is incessant, and it takes place in a perennial and resplendent day of opportunities. However, in order for us to grasp the real meaning of our stay on earth, Jesus tells us we had to take advantage of the opportunity to directly interact with human beings. If such an attitude was enough of a reason for the Master is concerned, what can we say about ourselves as we live in the physical realm or in the spheres closest to it and fulfill our obligations in the sacred realization of the eternal good? Christ is not referring to the need of preaching about the works of God. He is referring to accomplish them at the right time. Was Emmanuel telling us? Interacting with people at the right time is the key message. It is through the laid out blueprint of our life, in which we intersect with a variety of people, all put there for a purpose, that we are buffeted by the highs and lows of life to cause us to examine the foundations of our character. It is via the millstone of conversations, actions, and dramas with our fellow humans that we grind away our imperfections. Hence, we should heed what Emmanuel tells us. That's what he says. So, never disdain the situation you find yourself into. Try to use it to the best of your ability so that your efforts may be a fount of blessings for others and for those closest to you. Never forget to take advantage of the time to acquire more enlightenment while it is still day. So the Spirit Emmanuel has told us that we must be awake to whatever opportunities which may arise. But the next question is how to maintain that ability to seize the moment while simultaneously deeply concentrate on altering the structure of your mind. This is not easy. If it was easy, we'd all be saints already, right? But if God wanted us to make us good and 100% pure, we would be just like robots. But this is what's so wonderful about God in the spirit world. Every one of us will be pure and perfect sometime in the future. But all of us will be in our unique personality. This is why the whole world is full of chaos. This is why we go through this. If we were just like worker ants, right, or worker bees, and we just lived and worked and did and followed orders, then, we'd all be perfect, but we wouldn't be us. This is what we should rejoice in. And that's why we should know that we're given these times. They're for a purpose. It's to keep our personality and improve our character, but to make us our own unique, little module, little human, little spirit and soul, but also make us more and more powerful as we go up from one level of heaven to another. So, the Spirit Joanna in the book, Times of Health and Conscientiousness, provides the structure to make progress. This is what she says, and she always says these, she's marvelous in this stuff. The mind's function is to think. The habit of thinking expands the potential to discern. The mind is capable of using reason to recognize its own errors and correct them. Laziness regarding thinking is responsible for limiting one's discernment, one's reason. Conforming to narrow and superficial analysis of life and its manifestations, individuals remain at a lower stage, squandering time and opportunity. The endeavor to maintain attention, which observes, concentration, which assimilates, and deep reflection, which completes the psychophysical balance, becomes the bridge of the union between the surface conscious and the deep self, thus unifying the activities of the two brain hemispheres, which become harmonized and develop in tandem. The repetition of acts generate habits, and these become memories that begin to function automatically. If you choose mental habits of discernment for what is correct, you will act with confidence, and those memories will function automatically, maturing you intellectually and emotionally. And this behavior will give you self-awareness, oneness with your deep self. So, as usual with Joanna, she tells us so much in succinct writing. So Joanna lays out the three legs of the stool to rest upon our ability for retrospection and spontaneity. Attention, concentration, and deep reflection must exist and spark in your mind simultaneously. All three processes must be enhanced, with the priority of any one of these three for any particular moment is controlled by discernment. Most of us, I in particular, have the habit to give all of ourselves to one of these and ignore all else until we finish what we wanted to do. I've been told that people will come up to me and speak, and I will not notice, hear, or recognize their existence. Or even more rude on my part is to make eye contact, but ignore everything that is said. It is the old joke where a wife is talking to her husband and he's thinking and focusing on something else. She then asks him to repeat what she said, and he has no clue. All of this is because many of us have the habit to latch onto one of the processes, attention, concentration, and deep reflection, right? But you don't allow any outside stimuli to engage one of the others. For instance, when a person is giving their entire attention to a child, but across the park there's a woman acting like she is in pain, your discernment should disengage from the child for a moment and turn your concentration upon the woman in trouble. If you have satisfied yourself that everything's okay, then you could return to paying attention to that child. I believe most of us are masters at any one of the processes at any one time: attention, concentration, deep reflection. But it's the rapid fire movement between the three that requires strengthening. And to bolster this attitude, Joanna tells us to know what is correct by keeping our conscience as the signaler, the switch between processes. The more we practice, the better we shall be. We will establish patterns of discernment which will quickly call up whatever attribute is required for the occasion. And the more we exercise this newfound talent, the more at ease and confident we shall be. Our words and actions will flow from deep inside of us to be of the same character as a true deep self. Once this occurs, the causes for stress and disharmonization are removed and we become healthier individuals. With a heightened discernment, we become more able to react spontaneously to situations. And in listening to our conscience, we will act correctly with love and fraternity. So I talked about a lot there. And so the important thing in this is to try and keep your mind open, right? Keep your mind open and let your conscience, your discernment, which is decide, are you going to give full attention to something, right? Are you going to concentrate on some little problem? Are you going to have deep reflection? All three are important. And sometimes one of them can just be completely, exclusive of your time. But that is something that you must keep practicing. And as you walk up the street and you see things, try to kind of switch over from you're concentrating on something, let's say in the future, right? Or a problem you're trying to solve. Look at the situation and try and think, okay, do I have to react to that situation? Should I react to that situation? Is there something there that a person needs help or something else? All this is very important. So how do you start thinking rightly? How do you really start doing all that, right? How do you start reprogramming your brain? Well, again, the Spirit Joanna in the book Life, Challenges, and Solutions tells us how to accomplish this task. Again, first I'll tell that's all in this book, How to Live Inner Peace with Spiritism, where I go through each one of these things and I show people what they're talking about, what we should work on, and how we really should improve ourselves. So this is what she tells us. Okay, start reprogramming our brain now. Now, let me just stop here for a second and once again say why that is so important to reprogram your brain. Why are we on Earth? As I said before, we're on Earth to learn. But why would we have to be on Earth to learn? Why can't we live in the Spirit? Why do we have to do this, right? Why do you have to go through this pain? Well, the answer is because in order to rewire our brain, we need very strong stimuli. And what I believe the spirit world, God knows, is that to efficiently rewire our brain and to really cause us, forceful stimuli, forceful situations to change our attitude, we have to live in this world of objectivity, where what happens and we don't have control. Because in the spirit world, remember, one of the most important things to think about the spirit world is thought is action. Your thoughts change the environment around you, right? You decide what you're going to wear. You decide what you're going to look at. You, by the law of affinity, you start associating with every group that thinks like you. There's all this fluidness. But so you're on there. It's subjectivity, right? In the spirit world, it's subjectivity. You're changing your environment around you by your mind. Now, of course, you can change your character and personality in the spirit world. You can grow. But what the spirits tell us is that it's much harder. You need to take, and we put you in this objectivity world where, hey, things are, there's going to be certain physical laws. That wall is a wall. You're not going to change it. You look how you're going to look. You're not going to change it. You have limitations. Hey, you might get over them. You might not. This will facilitate the task of educating you much better. That's why we're here. And really, the whole reason we're here is to reprogram this. And it's not to reprogram it to be like everybody else. It's to give us our own little unique, points for each one of us, because each one of us, but it's to make us a loving, charitable, fraternal, honest individual. We still keep our sense of humor. We still keep our little quirks, right? We still keep the little quotes we like, the loves we have, the people we really like, the friends we love. But we are basically really nice people. So, how does Joanna tell us how to start thinking rightly? This is what she says. Since all expressions of evolution depend on thought from whence they came, it is easy to think differently by replacing an incorrect thought with the one that seems favorable. Get me? This is what I try to do every day. Replace the thought that is an incorrect thought with one that seems favorable. You cannot say it better than that she said. When I walk, right? Let's say I walk to work, and it used to be when I see a bum, I go, oh, that bum, can't they just get rid of them? That's just stinky and filthy. I don't say that anymore. I refuse to say that. I say, God bless them. They've gone through hard trials. Please help them. That's what I say. That is replacing an incorrect thought with a correct thought. Now I'll go on to what she says. People may claim not to know the difference, but all they have to do is evaluate what comprises their crutch, the things that sustains their dysfunction, and then proceed to a new endeavor of a different sort. At first, inertia will ensure the repetition of the old pattern and will breed disbelief in the success of the new undertaking. In this case, they must persist and persevere, opening up new space in the corrupted mental field to plant the new seeds of optimism and hope in order to exit the unhealthy state. Well, thank you, Doris. Right afterwards, it is imperative that they begin to value everything around them and establish new patterns of comprehension, thus freeing themselves from their old negative constructs. The new habit will be slowly instilled in the subconscious until it becomes an integral part of the behavior. Thinking rightly or wrongly is a matter of habit. Every time there is a demeaning, negative, perverse, or unjust thought, it must be immediately replaced with a dignified, positive, loving, trusting, and fair one. Subsequently, it must be further sustained by the force or wave of one's desire. That which is thought about certainly does become a reality. This is so because thinking and acting are terms of the same existential equation. Think first and then act, rather than act first and then regret it after having thought about it. Lofty mental constructions, those that produce healthy habits, are renewable and grow in the individual. They originate in the spirit, which receives them from the divine thought, whence comes all the forces of spiritual growth and complete fulfillment. So this is really the key. This is the key to, I believe, to so much. I believe that, this, what Joanna says, is really the key to removing stress, removing disharmony, making your own environment good. And when your own environment becomes clear and calm and stress-free, people will come to you, right? Like attracts like, right? The law of affinity works still here somewhat, not as pure as in the spirit world, but people will come to you and know that you're calm and you're kind and you listen and you don't gossip maliciously about other people. It changes. It changed me. I am changing. I'm not where I want to be, of course, but it is changing me. I am so much more happier. I don't need, I don't obsessed over that new car or or whatever, right? It's like, if I have it, I have it. If I want to save for it, I'll save for it. If something happens that I can't do it, no big deal. I'm only here on this earth for a very short time. And I'll be back to the spirit world. The main thing to bring with me is to really reprogram this. That's the only thing I'm going to take with me, right? Is that character. All your memories and thoughts, they're all recorded. You'll remember everything when you go back. When you get rid of your physical body, you'll remember everything. But the only thing that will change, right, is your character and personality. So Joanne is not only illustrating the path to alter our mindset, she is also revealing the method for true spiritual ascension. Spiritism notifies us that we are who we were on earth when we pass over from the physical to the spirit universe. Hence, while our bodies and possessions are separated from us, we still retain our mind, our character, our memories, and our personality, as I said before. Remember, and I keep coming back to this, in the spirit realm, thought is action. To ascend requires thought control, self-control of your mind. The higher the spirit, the more complete control a spirit possesses. As a spirit rises, the more power of creation with their mind. Therefore, to ascend means to discipline oneself, to control one's thoughts, to guide one's thoughts to the light. This is why this political correctness and this saying, oh, you can't think that or you can't say that is really negative to our improvement. Because what the spirit world wants us is to be immersed in whatever other people think, but then all of us to learn not to be forced to do it. Because if you're forced to do something, do you really learn it? No, you just do it. And then you're mad at the person that made you do it. No, this is for us to learn with our own heart, to put it deep and change our personality. That's why we need to discipline ourselves. So as you attempt to make fundamental changes to your thought patterns, the spirit world will notice your endeavors. I promise this. When it's like a teacher seeing a student is struggling, maybe not doing very well, but their attitude is like, I really want to learn this. That teacher will help all they can. And the spirit world is the same. As you prove yourself resilient and persist in the face of obstacles, gossip from friends, social pressure to fit in, etc., your guardian spirit will send you power to resist temptation and bolster your willpower to continue your progress. Do not, for one moment, underestimate the close proximity of the spirit realm. Your mentor spirits are ever alert of your activities, and like good professors everywhere, when they detect positive behavior, they desire to reinforce it. I can't stress this enough. We are always watched, right? We are always noticed. And, it's like parents with children. When they see these children making mistakes, they don't hate them for it. They just know they have to make mistakes, but they'll learn through doing, right? Everyone who's a parent knows you can tell your child 50 times, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And yet, until they do it and maybe burn their hand, like lighting a match or something like that, then they'll, now I learn, right? We're the same way. And, hopefully as we get older and more mature, we can actually listen to someone and say, okay, yeah, that's not a good idea. But even then, it's not easy, is it? So that's why. And then, as I've talked many times before, always stay in tune with the spirit world. They will help you, pray in the morning or pray, just a couple 30 seconds or a minute, whatever. And then, once a week, God at home, meditate, really go for half hour, talk to other people about spiritism, about spirituality, about God, about what you did that day and how you should do yourself. What I try to do is at the end of the day, I try to think, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? How should I change myself? These are all very important. So now, as I was saying before, spontaneity to help others, we also have to be awake, right? We have to be awake to see what the spirit world is trying to teach us at that moment. Because how many of us have been in class and we just zoned out and we go, huh? When the teacher asks us a question, I know I have many times. But so once we begin to follow Joanna's advice and march with vigor towards attention, concentration, and deep reflection by rewiring our brains through the elimination of negative attributes and instilling positive feelings, we shall awaken. Being awake means a mind that is active and listening, able to discern what is the truth, even in a sea of counterproductive propaganda. Joanna tells us the needs to be alert. This is what she says. Humankind in general lives in a sleep state, in lethargy, and that is why people suffer the worst sickness possible, ignorance of themselves, their destiny, and the meaning of their existence. Comfortable with their situation, people may complain, but they almost do nothing to change society's ills that are often characteristic of themselves as well. Due to their masochistic need to inspire pity, they bemoan themselves. They yield to circumstances out of self-indulgence and make no real effort to overcome any obstacle that may pose a threat or hindrance to their progress. Unconsciousness prevails in the modern world because it gives into immediate gratification with no follow-up plan for attaining liberating emotions. Thus, society is divided into surreptitious, mutually hostile groups that grow further apart each day, whereas they should work together to eliminate separatist barriers and become aware of their infinite potential for self-realization and spiritual awakening. But the moment invariably arrives when individuals are induced to either awaken or remain dead to reality. In order to awaken from their heavy sleep, they must make every effort possible to break the chains of self-pity and unhappiness, self-depreciation and self-disrespect. Being awake means self-fulfillment, being aware of one's inner reality and the infinite possibilities for growth from that are within one's reach. It means being freeing oneself from the fears that keep one immobilized in uselessness, rediscovering the joys of living and acting, broadening one's communication with nature and all living beings, multiplying the means of human dignification, and making them available to everyone, and submitting oneself to the eloquent purpose of enlightenment found everywhere. So, what is he telling us? To be awake is to be spontaneous, to react with confidence to any situation. Believe me, once you instill these correct thoughts and your conscience validates whatever you decide, when you make a decision, you're like, that's the right decision. If you make a decision and you feel like in your heart, like, I don't know if that's right. Now, and it still doesn't mean you're going to always make the right decision, right? Because we're all learning to filter every evidence through our conscience. But when you make a really bad decision, that you can do. But forgive yourself for making small mistakes. But when you're doing the right thing, even though it doesn't turn out right, even though at the end, like, no one noticed I helped anybody, well, no big deal. That's prideful and selfishness. You don't worry about them noticing you did something good. You did something good. You noticed yourself doing something good. You did the right thing. Yes, you may be poor, right? You don't have what you want, right? Your clothes are old and torn, but you feel good about yourself. Think about that. And remember, as I said before so many times, the spirit world says we are rewarded 100 times whatever we sacrificed for others in this life. That is really where you become a stress-free, harmonious person. This is how you achieve inner peace through Spiritism, is by understanding where you are, what you're doing, and how to change your mind from negative thoughts to positive thoughts. To know that materialism, while it has to be part of our life, right? We can't just sit on a corner, right? Be smelly and stinky and not do anything and ask for, food from people. But that's important. But we have to weigh that with our spirituality, with improving our spiritual quotients, with helping our character and our personality change to be a very nice person. Spiritism, as the spirits say, you can define Spiritism by just follow the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, that means so much, but what Spiritism helps is as I revealing with what I'm writing in my book, How to Live, is it's really telling you, okay, how do you get there, right? How do you treat others as you would want to be treated? It's not as easy as it says, because what Joanna is telling us, we don't even know how to treat ourselves sometimes. We don't know how to treat ourselves. And what we really need to treat ourselves is to analyze clearly what we are, where we're going, put that against our conscience. That conscience is given to us, all humans, by God. Everyone has a conscience, no matter, when people think they're a psychopath, well, they're just really good at not obeying their conscience. They are primitive spirits who have not connected that yet. They will. No one's a psychopath in their own, immortal journey. Maybe for some lives or two as we see it, but it's not going to be there forever. So, as just know, your reaction will be tinted with love and kindness, because via your self inspection, you realize that love is the path to the higher levels of heaven, the way to the light. Joanna helps to draw our attention to those in need. Invariably, they will be the people asleep, full of self-pity and unhappiness, with no understanding how to break free of the materialistic bonds that tie them to their current circumstances. And when you read the books by Chico Xavier, and you see all these people who could not rise to heaven, even though a lot of them were very nice people, but they had this materialistic bond. They were obsessed with their wealth, or they were obsessed with some object or another person who is still on earth. And they could not understand that all that is yes, gratitude. And gratitude is very important too, Dulce. They can understand that you're not here to teach someone a lesson. You're not here to grab onto something physical. You're here to improve yourself. And that other person who you may love, so many people are locked in lower zone because they want to be with that family, is they need to have the space to learn themselves. Let you ascend to heaven. The more you learn, the more you can come back and help. So this is why it is so important that we improve ourselves so we can help others. That's why we need to use that spontaneity. And we need, like Dulce says, we have gratitude for why we're on earth. So this is why we have to help others and ourselves use deep reflection to explore what is actually important to our inner selves and happiness. So often people only require a sounding board, a sympathetic ear to cite their grievances. Spirit authors caution against acting condescendingly as if we know the solution to another problem. Instead, ask questions and guide them to explore their motivations and feeling, more like a Socratic dialogue. If that person asks for advice, gently explain the primacy of spiritual wellness and how to attain it. Let them figure out if that is a good idea or not. Retooling our ratiocination pathways will enable us to be better providers of assistance to friends, families, and colleagues. In addition, our inner selves will be improved and readier to enter heaven to work productively, I should say. The Spiritist doctrine, brought to you and continually updated by spirits, is there to simply light the path to your spiritual enhancements. By revealing the purpose in life, it lets you determine if and how you will either facilitate your ascendancy or hinder it. You and your free will always be in charge. So I'm going to end this talk with a story from Chico Xavier when he was talking to the spirit of his mother after her sister died. Chico was as many people know, was a famous spiritist medium in Brazil, but his sister was a devout Catholic her entire life. Chico's mother told him that she told her daughter to rest after she passed away, after her arduous transformation from physical life to spirit life, that she should take some time to rest in a celestial community designed to help Catholics re-enter heavenly life. The spirit world is always trying to make this transition easy for people, if they led a relatively decent and valuable life. And so what they'll do is they'll take people, and they'll put them in where is kind of what you expect, but maybe not truly true, and give you the truth of the spirit life, little by little. But then Chico's sister, his mother's telling Chico this. Chico's sister asked her mother, goes, and she never believed in Spiritism. He goes, well, what happens to Spiritists after they die? Where do they go? And Chico's mother replied, oh, my daughter, they are put to work right away. And this is what the future I present to you, because the more you improve yourself and the more you become a loving, kind, fraternal person, the more you increase your intellect and understand about the spirit and what you're part of here, and you modify that with your love and your deep fraternal, charitable, and honest aspects in your heart, the more you'll be a productive spirit, the more you will be right away, okay, let's put you to work to help other souls, maybe in the lower zone are on earth, physical on earth. That is how you learn. And then as you improve yourself constantly and go from one level of heaven, which I really talk about in the books by the Reverend, in my books, the series of 3 books, it starts with Heaven and Below. And it's what's the Reverend G. Val shows us that heaven is really kind of multi-layered. And as you learn more and more, you're given more and more responsibility and power. You're actually given power, given tools. So you can actually use your mind more and more to create and do good for other people. That's why we're on earth. That's why we're here. So I want to thank everybody for being on our program tonight. Again, please, you can get this book. We click on his picture. Click on his picture on my site, nwspiritism.com. You can also find it on PDF, as I say many times. You can go to also my site, and on the right-hand section of my site, you'll see this book and all my other books. I have a total of 14 books. And I write those books. Right. A lot of people say, well, why do you write them? It's all being told in the Spiritism book. Well, you're right. But what I try to do is accumulate different things together. Like I have a book about reincarnation, right? I have a book about Explore Your Destiny, about the spirit world and so forth. I have a book, Problem and the Solution, where it talks about things are happening to you for a reason. The 7 tenets of Spiritism kind of goes, what are the main tenets of Spiritism? How they have affected my life. So it's all how you learn, right? You don't have to read mine. You don't have to read the Allan Kardec's book. Maybe Shigel's book gives you all you need, but keep exploring, see what works for you, see what helps you give the content. And as you read these things, reach out to other people, tell them about, if they're open, right? We're not kinds that sits on the street corner and say, oh, you need to listen to us or you're going to go to, where. No, we just have information. You kind of look when people are open to it and you kind of bring up the subject. If they listen, they listen. Or you give them a book, say, read this if you like. If not, that's okay. It's all about free will. There is no eternal hell. If someone's really bad, they'll be there for a while in that kind of the dark abyss, but they will eventually grow too. There's no last chance for anyone. What there is their opportunity to grow and be better and improve faster than you ordinarily would if you start thinking about your spiritual quotient, your spiritual maturity. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Please share this video, tell people about Kardec Facebook, tell people about Spiritism, the spirit world around us on Facebook, tell people about my site, nwspiritism.com. Give people the opportunity to learn what the universe is, the true universe, to learn why we're here on earth. I want to thank everybody for being with me tonight, and God bless everybody. God bless you.